Welcome to the Farmish Kind of Life podcast, where we talk about homesteading stuff and life stuff and everything in between. Join me, Amy Dingman, as we explore big questions on a little farm. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Farmish Kind of Life podcast. Today is Tuesday, September 24th. This is episode 291. Here at the Farmish Kind of Life podcast, we talk about life and how to live a good one. I am Amy Dingman, your fearless host, and the topic that we're going to be talking about today is to-do lists and digging into the to-do lists that we think we have. Now, just so you know, I recorded the main part of this episode a couple weeks ago, and then life got kind of hairy. If you were on Facebook, you probably saw me posting about some different stuff that was going on. And I didn't release an episode for a couple weeks. My dad was in the hospital. We were having all kinds of vehicle trouble. There's just a lot going on. And so I wasn't recording podcast episodes because that wasn't really what was on my mind. So when you listen to the main part of this episode, know that you're getting it a couple weeks later than intended, but it's still a worthy topic. And I hope it all makes sense. I had two different thoughts kind of creeping around in my head about this topic, and I mulled them over in the main part of this episode. And there's this underlying thread, and I hope that my weaving through the babble somehow makes it come through. So hopefully you can pull some kind of perspective from today's thoughts. But before we get to that, what has been happening on the lifestead? Well, we did end up going on our annual cabin trip, although it was shorter than normal because of stuff that was going on, but it was an awesome getaway. We had such a great time. I love being in the woods. It was much hotter than it normally is. Normally when we're up in the cabin, this is extreme northern Minnesota. We're real close to the Canadian border. And when we wake up in the morning at the cabin, normally there's frost this time of year, right? There was no frost this time, y'all. It was in the mid 80s during the day. It barely got out of the 70s at night. It was real hot for this time of year up where we were, but it's still a great time. Nice to get away, nice to just be able to relax. We went fishing a couple of the days to a lake that is kind of near the cabin. It's quite a four-wheeler ride away from the cabin, but we did that 2 days, and we ended up catching our limit of walleye both days, and super, super fast. The second day we actually timed it, and it was less than an hour that we caught our limit, and we actually were being picky. You know, we were like, that one's too small, we'll throw it back. So it was crazy. Great fishing, great time. So glad that we were able to do that. What else has been going on? Before we left for the cabin, I harvested our grapes. We ended up making 2.5 gallons of grape juice, so that was awesome. We have been picking loads and loads of tomatoes. The tomatoes are just about done here, but we've been getting lots in the freezer and roasting lots and making sauce and doing all that. We did get all of our corn taken care of, so that's awesome. We moved a bunch of strawberry plants from my mom's house to our house and got them in the ground so they could get established before the frost comes, if it ever comes here in Minnesota. It's just been unseasonably warm here. Y'all, it's crazy. It's crazy. What else? I need to dig our potatoes. I need to pick the gem corn. The gem corn is ready. It is so beautiful. I love gem corn. Every time you pull the husk down to reveal the actual cob of corn. It's like you don't know what color it's going to be. And so it's so exciting. And I make such dorky noises the entire time that I'm revealing the corn, because every one that I pick is the most beautiful one, and then I pick another one. I'm like, no, this is the most beautiful one. It's crazy. It's a nice little game that I play during harvest time. What else? My pie pumpkins rotted. Most of them rotted. I'm bummed about that. They looked so beautiful and they were just gorgeous. And I was so excited to have all these pumpkins that grew. And while we were at the cabin, it was real hot at the cabin, so it was even hotter here. And I think they got too hot and they just rotted. I went to pick one up when we got home from the cabin and my fingers went right through it. So not excited about that, but there you go. The temps will drop here eventually, I'm sure. And I'm going to tell you about a little thing that I'm going to try and do for October. I've decided that I'm going to do a soup series. And one of my readers suggested that I call it Crocktober. And I thought that was pretty awesome. I'd suggested this on Facebook. I thought, What do y'all think if when we get to October, I do a daily-ish, emphasis on the ish, daily-ish, post, so a blog post and a YouTube video about a favorite soup of mine, or a soup that I kind of needed an excuse to try. Like I'm going to do a daily post about a soup, like tell you how to make it, make a video about how to make it. And, it'll maybe be funny and entertaining because sometimes that's what I do. And there was such a huge response to that. People were like, yeah, we need to do that. I think everybody's just excited about soup. Everybody's excited about fall. And people were quick to point out that soup season is every season. Like every season is soup season. And they eat soup all year round. We don't eat soup year round here. And I was trying to think of why that is. And I think it's because it gets so cold here in Minnesota, it's so great to have a bowl of soup when it's 20 below outside, right? So I don't think of eating soup when it's 80 degrees. I don't do that. And that's fine if you do, which is weird because I drink hot coffee when it's hot out. So why would I not eat soup? I don't know. These are the big questions of life, When is it technically soup season? Okay, that was a little rabbit hole. All of that to say, that's my plan for October, so stay tuned for that. We'll see how it actually pans out. I'm sure it's not going to be daily because that'd be a lot of soup to make and that'd be a lot of soup for us to eat. And I love soup, but I don't need to eat it every day. So I'm thinking probably 3 to 4 days a week we will do something about soup. So get excited about that. All right, let's head over to this main topic that, remember, I recorded 2 or 3 weeks ago thinking I was going to be ahead of stuff, and then things got out of control. So here we go. So today we're digging into the to-do list we think we have. Those to-do lists we make, the ones that we think are made up of what we're supposed to be doing for the day. And a lot of us make to-do lists, right? Either on paper or in our heads. To-do lists help us remember things. They help keep us organized. They help us figure out the way to do things in the way that makes the most sense, if you're one of those people that makes your to-do list in order. And some of us really like crossing things off of those to-do lists. Some of us will even write something down on that to-do list just to be able to cross it off because it is so satisfying to cross it off, right? I totally do that. But I have been thinking a lot about to-do lists lately and how they fit into real life. And maybe that's because it's this crazy, chaotic, busy time of year on the homestead, or maybe it's just because I feel like we've had a lot of stuff thrown our way in which the to-do lists that we have made have gotten shaken up and tossed about and redone again. There are 2 different things that I've been thinking about when it comes to to-do lists, and I've been trying to connect these 2 points better to each other so this all makes more sense. But this might end up being a little disjointed and messy, this episode. So we're just going to go with it because I think the underlying thread underneath all of it is helpful. So bear with me. All right. So the first thing that I've been thinking about when it comes to to-do lists is that circumstances will sometimes make the to-do list seem bigger than it actually is, or bigger than it needs to be. Or maybe it's more correct to say that we allow circumstances to make the necessary items on the list more numerous and more urgent than they actually are or actually need to be. The second thing that I have been thinking about when it comes to to-do lists is that when something suddenly comes up and you are not going to get those items on your to-do list done, you will survive. The world will survive. Very rarely, if ever, I've checked and I don't think this has actually happened, but very, very rarely has the world blown up because you had to not do something or change the order of how you did things or do something later or allow someone else to take care of it, or just flat out admit, that, it ain't going to get done, and that's just the way it is. Things will come up in your life. You're not going to get everything on your to-do list done, and everything's going to be okay. Okay? So those are the 2 things that I have been thinking about real hard. Okay? And this is not at all to suggest that to-do lists are a bad thing, because I think they're great. If I don't write stuff down, I will not remember to do it. That is just the reality of the stage of life that I'm in. If I don't write it down, I won't remember, and it's not going to get done. But if you will allow me to ramble for a bit about this and try to tie a bunch of loose ends together, maybe we can make sense of this, and maybe it will give someone the perspective that they need today. So the first point, circumstances make the to-do list appear more urgent. And the immediate story that comes to mind for me, which is kind of sort of connected. Remember, these are loose threads we're trying to tie together. When I was working full-time, I remember telling a friend that between the chaos of the farm and home and work, I was finding it really, really hard to get to the gym. And all I could think about was that I really missed the gym, because I was someone who really liked to go to the gym prior to working full-time. And I really, really just wanted to be at the gym. And that's all I could think about. And she listened to me very politely. And then she said something quite bold. She said, yeah, but the only reason that you're thinking so much about the gym is because you can't be there. And I bet if your schedule suddenly did get a little more free time, you wouldn't suddenly be at the gym. Like, the only reason it seems like something you really want to do right now is because you're in a situation where you can't do it. And although I really wanted to tell her that I thought she was wrong, like, you don't know what you're talking about, I knew she was right. And you know how I know she was right? Because now I'm not at that job anymore. I haven't been at that job for 4 months now. And yes, I have a really busy day, right? It's not like I'm sitting on my butt all day, not doing anything now that I'm not working outside the home. But the busyness that I have is flexible. I generally, can be flexible with stuff. But I can tell you, now that I'm not working full time, I still haven't been to the gym more than probably 10 times since I quit my job. And that is not at all like the 5 times a week I swore I was going to do if I wasn't working. Right? Sometimes the thing that's preventing us from doing the thing we want to do is not the circumstance that's been given to us. Sometimes the thing that's preventing us from doing the thing we want to do is us. Like, it looks so much more enticing out there when we can't do it, like we're in a situation where we can't do it. We just want to be able to put that on our list. We want to be able to put that on our schedule and our to-do list and get it done. And we can't because of this stupid situation, right? When really it doesn't have anything to do with it. You might not do that thing anyway if that big thing wasn't in the way. Likewise, my dad recently had surgery to remove a tumor, and he isn't supposed to do much of anything for 6 weeks while he's recovering. And all he could think about was all the stuff that he wasn't going to be able to do because he had been medically ordered not to do it. And I totally, totally get that. Right? If some doctor told me you can't do anything for 6 weeks, you just got to sit on your butt, not do anything for 6 weeks, I would go nuts. So I totally understand what my dad is talking about. But having said that, does that mean that if he hadn't had surgery, that all of those things on this big to-do list, right? All those things and more would have magically been done in those 6 weeks? The 6 weeks that now he can't do anything because he's supposed to be recovering? Or having not had the surgery, having not been in this situation, would life have continued on through September and into October more leisurely, and things would have gotten done when they got done? Or maybe some of those things wouldn't even have gotten done at all because they just wouldn't have. Circumstances make the to-do list seem more urgent. We all fall victim to this. My husband and I have been getting ready to go to the cabin, right? Because we're leaving for our annual 1-week trip to the cabin. And I had this huge list of things I felt like I needed to get done before we left the farm for a week, right? Oh my gosh, it's this huge list. I'm not even going to be able to get it all done. And honestly, some of those things would be a really good idea to get done before we leave. For instance, if the grapes are not harvested before we leave, we definitely will not have as good of a harvest or as big of a harvest if we wait until we get back, right? Because the birds will get them, the wasps will get them. There won't be as many berries for us to harvest. Like that's just the reality of it. But I have this big list. Oh my gosh, I have to get it all done. If we weren't going to the cabin for a week in the middle of September, how many of those, oh my goodness, I have to get these things done, would not even be on our list that week of September? The week we're going to be gone. Like how many of those things wouldn't even be on our list? We wouldn't even think about them. Are we just freaking out about this stuff because we're creating a situation where we freak out? If I wasn't going to the cabin in the middle of September, how many of those middle of September, oh my goodness, I have to do this, how many of those things wouldn't get done anyway? Like, are we only freaking out about it because we're leaving? Sometimes when we know we are in a situation where we can't do something, whether that's because of a medical situation or a location situation or time situation, whatever, it makes the thing we can't do look a lot more urgent than if we weren't in the situation that was keeping us from it. Which reminds me a little bit of like, if your parents say, don't date that guy over there. That guy over there suddenly looks a lot more appealing, right? But if your parents didn't say anything about that guy over there, we probably wouldn't even have noticed there was a guy over there, right? This is all about perspective, isn't it? Keeping things in perspective. Okay, so that's my babble on the first point. Now the second point, your to-do list is kind of just an organized list of suggestions, okay? It's this list you make of suggestions of things that should really get done, but they might not happen in that order. They might not happen at all because life happens, right? My husband recently started his first day of vacation. He was getting vacation a little bit before we were going to go to the cabin. It's his first day of vacation. He is ready to attack this list of projects that we both want to get done before we leave for the cabin. So before we can even sit down to start the first item on the list, his phone rings and he gets called out on a SWAT call. It is the first day of his vacation and now he's on a SWAT call, right? Now, he leaves and I don't know if he's going to be home in 6 hours or 16 hours or 2 days from now. I have no idea. What this means is now the to-do list. We punt and we shift and we pivot and we redo the to-do list again and again, because the truth is this: there's a to-do list and then there is what actually happens. And I think if we were to keep track of what your to-do list started out as in the beginning of the day, you have your to-do list in the beginning of the day, this is what I want to get done. And if you were to make a list somehow of every single thing that happened during the day, and then when you went to bed, you compared those two lists, right? Here was my to-do list and here's what actually happened. You would often find out they are two completely different things. And there's nothing wrong with that because life happens. Things come up. Kids get sick, schedules change, things break. Sometimes problems remedy themselves and don't need your attention anymore. Sometimes. Someone needs you. The person you thought needed you didn't. So if we can tie all these really loose dangling ends together in this complete mess of an episode, I think the underlying point is this. We can sometimes make our to-do list an idol. We make this list of the things we're going to get done today, and then we don't get it done, and we're just crushed, and we're frustrated because we didn't get it done, and now I'm a failure because I didn't get it done, because all hail the mighty to-do list, right? We can sometimes make that stuff on our to-do list that we think we need to get done, we can make that into a wall that we can't even move past. When the crazy thing is that it's something that can so easily be blasted through when the situation changes. Things that seem so important and so urgent can be completely forgotten when ABC or XYZ happens. So was it really that urgent in the first place? That's what I want us to think about. And again, obviously, you know that I'm not suggesting that we all just throw up our hands and go drown ourselves in a vat of Kool-Aid soaked Cheetos and turn into a blob of useless nothingness. That is not at all what I'm saying, and I think you know that. I just want us all to give ourselves a little space, a little credit, a little perspective, a little reality. We can get so caught up in what we have to do today. When if ABC or XYZ happens, we completely forget about the thing that was so urgent. That thing we had to get done. So keep that in perspective. In the light of what's really important, how does your to-do list stack up? So there you go. Those are my thoughts. I hope they made sense. And the interesting thing is listening back to this. The crazy thing is when stuff started happening, and we were getting super, super busy with stuff that came up and was way more important than our to-do list, I had kind of given up like focus on the to-do list, right? I said, okay, this isn't going to get done, whatever, it's not important. The crazy thing is when I gave up like control of that list and I gave up that intense focus on that list, there were things on that list that still got done. And I think they got done easier than when I like had that death grip on the to-do list. Is wild. Like we had pretty much decided we're not going to get the grapes done. They're just not going to get done with all these vehicle issues, with stuff going on with my dad in the hospital. We're just like, there's just stuff that's not going to get done and it's fine. And there is stuff we had just, like essentially in our brain deleted it from the list. Like it's not going to get done. And those things, even in the chaos of what was going on, there just seemed to be these tiny little blocks of time that opened up somehow. And we were able to get some of those things done. It was just crazy. So sometimes I think maybe we just need to let go of our to-do list a little bit and like just loosen the death grip just a little bit. Because the day is going to happen how the day happens. It's good to have a plan. It's good to have goals. It's good to like organize your thoughts. Like here's some things I should get done, but keeping it in perspective, I think it's going to make things a lot easier for all of us. So that's what I have to say today. I'm so glad that you came back. I apologize for the 2-week break, but things should be good now. We should be back on track. So thank you so much for hanging out here with me again today, and I will talk to you again soon. Hope you enjoyed the show today. To continue the conversation, visit our website at afarmishkindoflife.com, find A Farmish Kind of Life on social media, or drop me an email at amy@afarmishkindoflife.com. Peace, love, and bacon, y'all. Stay farmish.